Fellow Democrats, wow, great to be here with you. I'm having a few issues with allergies. I'm allergic to crime and corruption. And I want to thank all the distinguished leaders who are with us today. It's really an honor to be here with so many great leaders and advocates from around the state, my colleagues in government. Big shout out to my brothers and sisters in the labor movement, without whom we could not win any of these elections. With all of your help, 2010 and 2012 were great Democratic years in the great state of New York. And with your help, 2014 is going to be a better year than ever. Now, I have said many times that being the Attorney General of New York State is the best job I could ever have. I love being a lawyer. I love being your lawyer. I like getting up in the morning every day knowing that my lawyers in Albany go to work in a building called the Justice Building. And it is with great humility and pride that I accept your nomination to serve for another 4 years as your Attorney General. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a real record of accomplishment to run on in New York in 2014. And I believe that Governor Andrew Cuomo, Controller Tom DiNapoli, and I, with your help, are going to give a big lift to everyone else on our ticket as we campaign around the state and work to elect congressional candidates, members of the Assembly, members of the State Senate, and all my colleagues in local government who are running. This can be one of the great Democratic years in the history of our great state. As ladies and gentlemen, we know that our values are American values. There has never been a clearer contrast in my lifetime between the two political parties. We are the party that fights for working men and women. We are the party that takes real steps to ensure that businesses can thrive in the long run. We are the party that takes strong action to solve big problems, and we are the party that fights for justice for every New Yorker. The other party does not do those things. And it's important for us to, in the months ahead, nicely, politely, but firmly, tell the people of the state of New York what we have done and what we will continue to do, and tell them that we will never, ever go back. Ladies and gentlemen, as some of you know, I'm a little bit of a student of American history. The United States of America is not just a country. It's a project in which every generation strives to leave behind a nation with greater equality and greater justice than we found it. Our generation is called to that challenge, and now, as Democrats, we have to ensure that this progress continues. For me and the people in my office, it all is summed up in the notion of equal justice under law. Equal justice under law is a bedrock principle of our country, and it's a bedrock principle of our party. I am confident that the people of the state of New York understand who is for equal justice under law and who is kind of for inequality, racial, economic, gender, and sexual orientation. They're not so good on equal justice under law, folks. They're pretty weak. That's the argument we have to have. You want to take the position you're not for equal justice under law? Good. You take that position. Let's go out and talk to the people of the state of New York. That's the election that lies before us this year. And as I have said often, to me, equal justice under law means three things. Everyone deserves a fair shot. Everyone has to pay their fair share, and there has to be one set of rules for everyone. And that is what we do every day. In our office, these are our core values, and fellow Democrats, we have to send the message that we don't care, and in my office we don't care, if you are a giant financial institution with an army of lawyers, or you are a big polluter with an army of lobbyists, or you're a high-ranking public official who betrays the public trust. The law applies to everyone. Equally, we will seek to enforce equal justice under law. We will make sure that everyone gets a fair shot. We don't guarantee success, but every kid in the state of New York deserves a fair shot. Everyone has to pay their fair share, right? We are not the party of offshore tax avoidance. Let me just make that clear right now, and that's an issue we have to talk about honestly with the voters. and one set of rules for everyone. So let me say a little bit about this, because I'm confident this is a fight we're going to win this year, and win big for 3 reasons. First, we're strong. Ladies and gentlemen, you are strong. You are New York strong. And that's like the teachers and homeowners and firefighters and cops and EMTs and thousands of everyday citizens who saved and served people who were devastated by Superstorm Sandy, right? The hundreds of New York businesses that gave away food and fuel and supplies. The strength of the dozens of lawyers in my office working out of offices with no lights or electricity to go after price gouging gas station, hotels, and others, to make sure that charities raising money with pictures of Sandy victims were delivering the money, and to make sure that all the workers got paid their fair wages. But until our office intervened, there were thousands of workers who weren't getting paid for Sandy recovery. We made sure that happened. That's New York strong. And we are as strong as our heroic fast food workers like Chantel Walker, who just spoke to you. We are as strong as people who have everything to lose and yet stand up to fight for justice. And as she noted, our office has recovered in the last few years over $16 million for over 10,000 low-wage workers. We will stand with them at every step of the way. And as the great mayor of Albany, Kathy Sheehan, noted, we are also tough. We are also tough. We are New York tough. And some of you know this story, but I don't get tired of it. When I first became the Attorney General, there was a proposal on the table that pretty much every Attorney General in the federal government had agreed to let the big banks, whose reckless financial misconduct took down our housing market and our economy, to let them off for very, very little. And alone among attorneys general, even though I'd just been here for a short time, I refused to go along with the deal. And over time, more and more people saw my point of view. And the folks who were trying to convince me that I should go along and get along, and a lot of AGs from around the country and people in the Justice Department, did not quite get the fact that I actually had the support of people all over America, because on the same trips where I went to Washington, I went to the AFL-CIO and SEIU. I went to see our friends in labor who said, no, you're right, we need to get more. I went to see civil rights organizations that said, no, you're right. The mortgage crisis affected African American, Latino communities disproportionately, because we, the government, said, you gotta buy a home, you gotta have a mortgage. And then we allowed the market to collapse. And I was helped by housing activists who all understood that we could and should do more. And I'm proud of the fact that we turned around the federal government, and in January of 2012, the President of the United States set up an unprecedented state-federal task force and named me as its chair to go after the folks who took down our economy. The first case we resolved was with JP Morgan Chase, $13 billion, the largest settlement in the history of the United States, and over $1 billion for New Yorkers. And we are using that money to help our communities, as Mayor Sheehan noted. We're funding land banks so that communities can buy up abandoned properties, help everyone revive, help everyone be able to afford to get back into a home, whether you're a renter or you're a buyer. We are funding almost 100 legal services and housing agencies, and my commitment to you, ladies and gentlemen, is this. When I took office, 345,000 New York families were facing foreclosure. Half of them never had a chance to talk to a lawyer at any stage of the process. My pledge to you is this: no New York family will ever lose their home because they didn't have access to a lawyer. We are funding it, we are guaranteeing it, and we will continue to do so as long as we have to. And as tough New Yorkers, we go after the big fish, but we go after the sharks, but we do go after the piranha too. And there are scammers all over the state of New York that we have pursued and brought justice for tens of thousands of New Yorkers. We cracked down on a company that was scamming active duty soldiers at Fort Drum. Now, how low can you get here, ladies and gentlemen? Taking advantage of these folks these young people going over to Iraq and Afghanistan, selling them laptops with financing agreements so they ended up paying 2, 3, 4 times what the computers were worth. We got in, we got all the money back, we made them clear the credit history of all of these great heroes, And we then went to Washington and ensured that the National Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is working with us to root out scams against service members wherever they are all over the United States of America. And we are focusing on scams that always seem to target our most vulnerable, whether it's Sandy victims, our senior citizens, and we're going all over the state educating folks with our Smart Seniors, Smart Investors program, active duty service members, and ladies and gentlemen, the final reason we're going to win is we're not just strong and we're not just tough. We're smart. We're New York smart. We have put, as Terry Kroll noted, dozens of major drug traffickers and kingpins behind bars. We have broken up the largest set of heroin rings, including the biggest ones in the history of Western New York. A couple weeks ago, one called Operation Crazy Train that was moving millions of dollars of heroin and cocaine into Rochester. We are disrupting that market. At the same time, we are smart. We understood that a lot of people were getting addicted to opioids because they started with prescriptions from their doctor. Folks who would never start out seeking out a heroin dealer thought, if my doctor's giving it to me, it's okay. And when I took office, prescription drug abuse was the fastest growing and worst problem in the American criminal justice system. We were smart. We are now the only state that, thanks to my office and our friends in the state legislature and the governor signing the bill, passed an internet system to track overprescribing. When I go to my doctor, when you go to your pharmacist, they can see if I have 1 oxycodone prescription or 5. We're the only state in the country that has that, and the State Department of Health recently reported that since last August, doctor shopping collapsed. In the first 8 months of the program, it was cut by 75%. We are saving lives all over the state of New York. Because we are not just tough on crime, ladies and gentlemen, you gotta be smart about crime. Everyone has the right to be safe in their home, on their streets, no matter how rich or poor a community you come from. Everyone has the right to public safety. This is an essential part of everyone having a fair shot. This is an essential part of equal justice under law. And we, the Democratic Party of the state of New York, are the tough on crime, smart on crime party. We're the ones who repealed the Rockefeller drug law so our prison population comes down while crime goes down and we're getting more people into treatment. And we're the ones who are ensuring that people are safe by continuing creative programs that are models for the rest of the country, like iStop. Let me mention one more, because I've been involved for a long time in dealing with the plague of illegal guns that leads to so much violence in our state. So when I became Attorney General, I sent some undercover investigators to see if at gun shows they were enforcing the background check provision that requires everyone at a gun show to do a background check to make sure that criminals and people with serious mental health problems do not get guns. We sent undercovers into 6 shows, discovered that there's no story they could tell them that would prevent them from getting a gun. One of our guys said, I don't have any guns and I need a gun because my wife got an order of protection against me and the cops took all my guns. They sold that guy a gun. So I figured at that point we have to do something about this. We busted the sellers, but then, because we are smart, we sat down with the gun show operators, and to their credit, they worked with us to develop a set of model AG procedures that they put into effect, and my investigators and my lawyers are in the gun shows now. They seal the perimeter. We printed up a system of tags, so if I bring guns in, I have my name and serial number of the gun on a tag. You cannot leave a New York gun show with a gun you didn't bring in without a background check. And we got the buy-in of the operators, and one after another, not just the ones we busted, every other gun show operator in the state of New York signed up for our model procedures. We are getting the best results in the country, and I'm proud of the fact that Gabby Giffords and Mark Kelly came and walked through a gun show with me, recognizing the fact that we have the best system in the country. So, ladies and gentlemen, we focus forward. We're focused on the crimes of the 21st century. We're focused on the high-tech crimes, keeping sex predators off of line, and now we've extended it to off of gaming networks with our Operation Game Over, because they were going on networks to play games with kids and using that to try and get to the kids. We are always looking ahead. We are always looking forward, and that's why we're bringing New York forward. That's why our economy is getting better. That's why, and you heard our great state controller earlier today, that's why our pension fund is doing better. And I have to say, Tom DiNapoli and I did not coordinate our wardrobes today. We're just very much in sync, and in fact, have entered into a historic executive order for the first time in history, the New York State Comptroller's Office and Attorney General's Office, we have cross-designated our auditors, lawyers, and investigators. We are making cases all over the state of New York, and he's a great partner in the pursuit of justice. And has good taste and ties. So, ladies and gentlemen, as New Yorkers, smart on crime, tough on crime, no one is above the law. No one is beneath the law. We work to support the working families of New York every day in the Democratic Party. With Governor Cuomo and Tom DiNapoli, my great colleagues in Congress and the legislature, we are committed to a government that is good as the people of the state of New York. We are committed to being the party that stands up for working families, not the party that steps on working families. And whether it's the 40-some cases our office has made in cases of public corruption where people were misusing taxpayer funds, it is our pursuit, which was continued, of the financial institutions that hurt us and getting the money from those hurt, to the people hurt by the banks, from the people who put the hurt on them. That's pretty simple American justice. We're doing that. We're dealing with crime and drugs in the most forward-thinking way in the United States. We are dealing with the people who would scam our most vulnerable citizens. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the story we have to tell. Our economy is turning around. Our pension funds are strong. We have the smartest policies on crime in the country. We are taking New York forward. We are providing leadership that is recognized across the nation. We are going to tell the people of the state of New York that you turn to another path at your peril. We're never going back. We're never going back to the days when there was discrimination against the LGBT community on marriage. We're never going back to the days when people tolerated unequal justice under law. We're never going back to the days before a woman's right to choose was hers and hers alone. And ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to be your candidate for Attorney General. I love being your Attorney General. And we will have a great time this summer and this fall telling the people of the state of New York how much we've accomplished and how much together we still can accomplish. New York is ready to renew itself as a leader among states, as it has been for much of our history. We are ready to show the way for the nation. Are you ready to go and make that happen? Are you ready to get out and campaign? And if you are ready to do that, work with us for the next 5.5 months, and we promise you, we will give you a state that is greater than it has ever been, more just than it has ever been, more equitable than it has ever been, and we will keep this promise for you and for New Yorkers, for our children and grandchildren. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Beautiful.